Welcome to the Odds Checker Open Championship preview video and podcast. Apt this time, I guess. I'm flanked by a couple of guys from the Republic and from Northern Ireland as we head to Royal Portrush. On my left is Odds Checker's very own golf tipster Niall Lyons, and on my right, as ever it seems these days this year, it's Dylan Byrne from the 15th Club. Two guys who know more than most with different approaches to how to back some winners at the Open Championship. And firstly, normally with the Open, we know a fair bit about the course before we get there. So I'll start by asking you both if you can tell me when the last time the Open Championship was held at Royal Portrush.
1950s.
1951 is correct. I've got the Wikipedia page up on my screen. Hopefully you didn't see. Yeah, the 1951 was the last time it was held there. The only time before this, and it was won by Max Faulkner. And Max Faulkner won £300 for winning that Open Championship, which I think is probably about what me and Niall will be playing for this afternoon. That gives you an idea of the scale and the scope and how much the game has changed. So we need to talk about the course itself because most of us have very little input into it. And Dylan, you guys at the 15th Club, your role within golf is to help players to understand golf courses better. So I'm hoping there's going to be no one better to fill us in about the tests and the trials that Portrush will provide the players.
Yeah, I mean, generally, obviously, we don't have any specific shot level data for Portrush from previous events. There was obviously the Irish Open there a few years back, but we don't have too much detailed information on that. So we're kind of going on, we can draw a certain amount from previous links events that have been played in both in Ireland and the UK, and kind of we can kind of derive some information from that to help the players prepare. So generally what we found on links courses is the lag putts tend to be a little bit more common, so it kind of ties in with bigger greens generally. Lag putts are much more common. Around the green, players will have less shots from the rough and the sand, and they'll have more shots from kind of fairway and fringe. More irons off the tee, so 2.7 irons off the tee on average on links, 2.1 on standard courses. One of the more interesting ones, and it's not really a surprise to anybody, but the penalty for missing fairway is obviously much higher on links into fairway bunkers. So 0.73 strokes on average if you find a bunker on the fairway on links. That's what you're going to be penalised, and then on average it's normally about 0.4 for other courses. So don't go in there. The rough, interestingly enough, not much of a difference. So links is actually 0.22 if you go on the rough, and then it's 0.24 on average. And then in other lies, so presumably fescue or kind of long grass and links is about a stroke and a half on average if you're finding that on a links. So those are the kind of key things off the tee. Then finding the green is about 3% more common on links courses, so kind of adjusted for distance and lie, but then putting it inside 15 feet is much more difficult. So players will either A, need to be excellent with their approach shots, or B, hold a lot of putts from outside 15 feet. That's the general summary that we found for links courses. So slightly bigger greens, obviously higher percentage finding the green, but a lower percentage inside 15 feet. So that's obviously due to kind of harder ground. It's tougher to control it. It's not quite the dartboard that it might be in some other events.
I mean, just to give the listeners and viewers some context, we are recording this the Tuesday, the week before the Open Championship. So in our world, we've just seen John Rahm set fire to Lahinch on a Sunday, and we've just seen Matthew Wolff winning his maiden PGA Tour victory on his fourth event. So before the what's going to be taking place in Scotland this weekend, so we haven't got that kind of insight. But Niall, does that tally with your approach here, in that because we haven't seen much pro golf there? I mean, we have an idea about the course, but are you looking at a general links form? I mean, this time last year we spoke and you told the listeners that it was going to be Francesco Molinari or Alexander Schauffele to win the Open Championship at Carnoustie, and that went quite well. So I'm waiting with bated breath to hear what you're going to say here.
We're going for 4 years in a row now, so the Stanson and Spieth as well. So yeah, hopefully I've got a handle on this links stuff, and this year will be the fourth winner on the trot. But yeah, as Dylan says, like, you just look at links golf, and it's almost the same throughout all the courses on the road. You mentioned bunkers there. Obviously, you say it costs half a shot, something like that.
0.73, yeah.
Interestingly, Portrush has the least amount of bunkers on the open road. It only has 64, so that might not be the biggest problem this week. I think you're going to find a reasonable enough test off the tee. It's par 71 around. It's been lengthened a couple of 100 yards from when it was in the Irish Open. 2 new holes added as well, 7th and 8th. But I think there's going to be a par 71 at 77,300 is a reasonable enough test, I think, lengthwise. And even though you get a fair amount of run on the ball, and you know, we've had reasonable weather in Northern Ireland for the last number of months, but just recently there in the last week or two there's been a lot of rain, and I've heard there's a lot of rain up in Portrush today as well. So it's difficult to know just how tough or easy the test will be in the Irish Open in 2012. I think, was it 18 under Donaldson won on?
Yeah.
And it was par 72 then, mind you. But I think he kind of won it by hitting it far enough off the tee. I think he was fairly long that week, and his putting that week was outstanding. I think he had something like 1.4 putts per greens in regulation, which is really out of the ordinary and hard to predict, I suppose. But yeah, as you say, we're just looking to those kind of golfers who play links well, and it's fairly straightforward. The unknown is just obviously the course. I
mean, it's very rare now to have a course which is you know, we see some popping up less often than others, but with Royal Portrush, the fact that it's been, you know, 60, 70 odd years, how does that change your approach in the way that you're going to be tipping this year and looking for your bets?
There's a bit more unpredictability in it, obviously. You know, last year going to Carnoustie, we've always known how tough that plays and what kind of game is really needed there. Next week at Portrush, it's just going to be a bit more difficult with regards to a pumping point of view, just because, you know, it could be a solid tee to green game that wins it, just like Carnoustie did last year, or it could be, you know, bombers off the tee, which, you know, it is unlikely down the years in open events. But Portrush, you know, I did go to all 4 days of the Irish Open in 2012, and one thing I did note that I thought it was quite demanding off the tee, and I think the 2 new holes that have been added, the par 5 7th, which has a massive bunker on the right hand side of the fairway, which was the 17th, or was the famous bunker on the old 17th hole. That could be taken on by the long hitters, and the 8th. There was a video that popped up a couple of days ago of McIlroy playing the 2 new holes, and he drove a fairway bunker around about 300 yards on the 7th as well, left him about 90 yards in. Just thought to myself, longer hitters could have an advantage here of, you know, where in previous open venues it's just not quite the case. Obviously there's just a bit of randomness in there with Portrush that nobody quite knows, but as far as I could see, I think it'll just be a bit more demanding lengthwise off the tee than some other open venues. And
before we talk about the players, I mean, open to either of you, I mean, you've obviously had a big look at the course itself, and Noel, you've been there. Have you played there before? Yeah. Have you played there as well? From a very kind of basic level, what kind of a challenge does, I mean, we know it's a links course, but what kind of a challenge does Portrush itself throw up at players? What's its main defence, I guess?
I think with the renovations they've done, I think they've shaved a lot of areas around the green and cut a lot of turf, so there's a lot of mown off areas, and I think there's a right number of greens that have slopes before them, that if you don't quite get your yardage right on the thing, or you spin the ball back too much, you'll end up, you know, 30 or 40 yards away from the pin again. So I think approach play will be quite demanding, and which in turn means scrambling will be a key stat for the week, probably. Those guys who can get up and down from those tight lays, as you say, from the edges of the green.
Do you agree with that? Yeah, I think they have actually added a few more bunkers this year as well, around the fairways, so that could come into play a little bit. I think you're right in what you're saying about the greens. From what I've seen of it, there seems to be quite a lot of slopes in the greens, which will obviously, that'll be a factor in putting, but it'll also be a pretty major factor in the approach shots in. You know, you're probably going to need to find the right level. You know, I suppose we see it at Augusta a little bit, where there's a lot of different levels on the greens, and unless you're in the right place, you've got no chance really. So yeah, I think those two things, you know, being accurate and long off the tee, and, you know, again, being pinpoint with the approach play is going to be key.
Looking at the top of the market at the moment, we've got Brits Koepka and Rory McIlroy are 9-1 joint favourites. Rory McIlroy was tied second last year at Carnoustie and obviously won at Royal Liverpool a few years ago. Brits Koepka doesn't have that kind of an open record, but it's fair to say that his major record is quite handy in the last couple of years or so. So do we think that those two are the rightful favourites, the rightful two at the top, and who would you have between them?
For me, I think I'd have Rory in that category. I heard, I suppose it's a rumour, I heard that he shot 61, I think, at Queenwood yesterday.
Really?
In that, there was like a member guest thing on. And apparently, from what I've heard, he hit the pin. He was 10 under going down the last, hit the pin, bounced away like 30 yards and made bogey. Don't know how true that is, but apparently, so
That's amazing.
that would bode well. I mean, look, he's in fantastic form this year. His links record, it's okay. It's not, it's nothing special for him. But it's, he's in fantastic form. He's in our rankings, our performance rankings, he's the best player in the world this year, and he's also the best player in the world long term. So, there's that. But I suppose...
And do we assume as well that he's probably played... I mean, you may know better than I, but he's probably played at Portrush a fair few times in his life.
Well, he holds a course record there.
Does he?
He shot 61 there in the North of Ireland Championship. I think he was 16 at the time.
Yeah.
So the previous course record, that was 64. He shot 61 that day. So obviously that course record is going to go this week, obviously, with the 2 new holes. But yeah, obviously he can play phenomenal stuff around there. He hasn't been out of the top 5 in the Open in the last his last 4 Opens in the last 5 years. So it is a real solid record, even though a couple of those years he hasn't really been contesting the lead. Obviously, you had the Phil and Stenson showdown and Spieth and Kuchar, who were clear of the field really those couple of years. But yeah, he's got all the credentials to go well, and I think he's playing that well this year that you can't really see him out of the mix. I was discussing this with a colleague the other day, just of maybe his record in the Irish Open and whether the pressure will maybe get to him at Portrush. Obviously, I think winning the Open at Portrush would be a bigger deal than winning the Masters, to be honest.
Well, he said that, didn't he? He said it earlier on in the year that was his goal, that he would take winning at Portrush ahead of winning the Masters in a press conference.
Obviously, he won the Irish Open at the K Club, but apart from that, his record in that event's been really sketchy. But I think it would be foolish to put it down to just home pressure. I think Rory's bigger and better than that, or maybe in my mind he just kind of doesn't really give a stuff about home pressure. It's just whether on the week he fancies it and plays well, and he's that kind of streaky of a golfer at times that if it goes well, I think the first 18 holes at Portrush will be very important for him, because I think if he goes well early, he could freewheel and he'll just ride the crest of a wave of playing at Portrush and the history behind it. But if he comes under pressure early and there's a weight of expectation of the home crowds wanting him and willing him to do something, I think it could get on top of him. But the first 18 holes will be very important, and I think if he shoots anything under par, 3, 4, 5 under par, I think he'd be hard to stop over the week. Yeah,
as you mentioned, form figures in the Open Championship. He won in 2014. He didn't play in 2015, but then tied 5th, tied 4th, tied 2nd, and tied, and then obviously hasn't played yet this year. But I mean, just 3 top 5s in a row and an NR is a pretty good going for someone who you just said his links record was okay. I think it's a little bit better than that, especially in the big one. Let's get on to Brooks Koepka quickly, who we've seen his attitudes at the Open Championship not quite mirror his attitude in other major championships. Last year at Carnoustie, he was very keen to get the big stick out and take everything on and not really play for position off the tee, but he didn't end up too badly there. Is this going to suit his style of play? Is he set to win an Open Championship on what we've seen so far?
I think he might be, yeah. I mean, I think he probably will be able to use his driver a little bit more often this year than maybe some of the other courses on the Open rotation. I think, Ricky Elliott is obviously from that area. I don't know in terms of course how much of an impact that will have. Like, I'm sure the players and a lot of the caddies will be, very, very well prepared. I'm not sure he'll have much of an advantage in that sense, but it might be. I think we all know, really, with Koepka, it's how interested he is in winning. It tends to be, or it seems to be that way. So that may be a factor in terms of he might want to go and win, for that reason, that it's Ricky Elliott's home place. So,
or the 1.4 million other reasons he might want to win it as well. So,
well, yeah, I'm sure that's not a problem now at this stage. But I just think from that element, I mean, obviously the quality of the player, I think that's something because of kind of, you mentioned it earlier, the unknowns on the course, something I'm going to be focusing on more is just the quality of the player. There's some players that'll be a little bit exempt from that, but I think I'm going to aim for the best possible players I can get with the best links form, and go from there. And obviously Koepka, he's an excellent player. Recently in majors and kind of over the last 3 years, he's been relatively unstoppable in majors. So it's hard to rule him out. Like, you couldn't rule him out, but I think of the top two, I'd be taking Rory.
Any more to add?
I think, as I said, he might be a bit more suited to this place than other open venues, as you say. I think you will need to use a driver an awful lot at this course. There's a lot of carries, like dog leg holes where you can cut off a lot of the hole if you're a big hitter. And I think that'll probably be important over the week. I think there'll be their fair share of, your tee to green types, those type of players who are normally up there in an Open Championship. But I think this time around there'll be a bit more scope for those who bomb the ball out there just to score better. And I think this is probably, to date, Koepka's maybe best chance of winning the Open.
A few more who'll be up for looking for their first Open Championship in Dustin Johnson and Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm, of course, putting to bed any issues people had with his links form with that win at Lahinch, his second Irish Open, with an unbelievable round on the Sunday. And Dustin Johnson, who has shown some form over here as well. And they are joined by, they're both Dustin's 14-1, Jon Rahm's 16-1, and they're joined by Tiger Woods at 16-1, looking for his fourth Open Championship, the first since 2006. Obviously came very, very close last year in the back nine at Carnoustie. Looked like he was set to do it again. So let's talk about those three. Firstly, because I'm sure he's going to be very popular with punters at the moment, a word on Jon Rahm after what we saw last weekend. Niall, has that changed your opinion on him and his Open credentials after watching what he did on Sunday?
Yeah, well, I would quite like to be on the 20 to 25 to 1 that was there before that. I think that would be a really nice bet now. I just think he's like almost suited just by the bounce in a links turf, and the give in it. He just looks so comfortable standing over an iron shot or an approach shot into the green. It's just the ball strike and just at links just looks tremendous. He looks made for it, So obviously his temperament has been called into question a number of times, but do you really see that surface that often nowadays? It's a bit maybe overplayed. I don't know.
He's also, he's a winner as well. Like, it's not like he's someone who throws. We've seen, looking back at the players, we've seen him lose his bottle a bit. But maybe it's just the way that he reacts when he is falling away from tournaments that makes people question his nerve rather than actually the golf itself.
Yeah, I think he's learning. And obviously Irish links looks to suit him anyway with a couple of wins now, and he won Portrush, which is just down the road. So. Yeah, he's got everything going for him, and 14-1 and 16-1 out there could still be a fair price at the end of the day. Yeah,
the mentality thing, I probably still would question it in certain situations, like a US Open where it's thick rough and you need to be really patient. I mightn't be too inclined to back him, definitely not at that price, but I think having done it twice now in Irish Opens in broadly similar circumstances, granted the field isn't the same, but the courses are roughly similar. And having the mentality that he can get over the line. The performance at Port Stewart, I think he won by 6 shots or something like that. So that's probably, if you bring it back to kind of major field level, that's probably enough to win a major if you put the same kind of performance in. Again, this year looking at the performance rankings, he is 6th this year overall, and he's 4th long term performance. So he's right up there. For me, if you ask somebody, is Jon Rahm going to win a major in the next 4 years? It seems like a virtual certainty at this stage. So 16s is a very fair price. And I think if you played this exact major in this situation for the next 4 years, then it is pretty much a certainty that he'll win one. So I think 16s is a very fair price. There was a couple of other factors that I liked. I think the last 3 winners have come in having won in their previous 2 starts as well. So, that's just another little element that I like for him. So he would be, of that second little group, he'd be the one for me there, yeah. And
DJ and Tiger probably would have been a bit of surprise if I'd told you immediately after the Masters that these two would be available at 14s and 16s. but I mean, I personally wouldn't be rushing to back them at those prices.
Well, I'd be kicking myself if Dustin Johnson goes and does it after the first 2 majors like we backed him in. So
that's not a reason enough, though, is it?
No, I don't think so. But he's not stroked off my list. Certainly not. Just I think because of the way he's played this year, like almost on the bridle. I just don't think he's been anywhere near his best. But he's been so close to winning 2 major championships. Suffers a bit with a putter nowadays, a little bit like when it comes to the crunch of an event. But there's been a few negatives there this season. But as I say again, I just think the longer hitters may have an advantage again this week, or next week. So he's not ruled out for me, especially the way he's played this year. And
then on to a couple of guys who've won the event. Last year's winner Francesco Molinari is 22-1. Jordan Spieth 28-1. Again, we always say the same things when we talk about Jordan Spieth here, where it could look a massive price just a couple of hours into the event, but you could also be kicking yourself for backing him, given the recent form. A miscut at the Travellers was the last time we saw him. And Justin Rose here with a best finish last year of second, and of course going very, very close in the USPGA as well. So 3 guys there, and then we'll open it up to your fancies, having gone through the top of the market. But any of those on the short list at this stage?
Not really. I mean, Spieth and Rose would be kind of off the short list for me based on their form this year. I know Rose obviously has a win, but he hasn't been operating at the same level that he had been kind of the end of last year and most of 2018.
And given how important his putting was to that run at the last major, would that make the price at the moment, that 18-1, a bit of a false price because the golf he was playing didn't really tally with it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, this year I think, let me just check his ranking, but he's playing like someone who's about 14th in the world this year, which wouldn't really tally up with that price for me. So yeah, the form there would turn me off. And Jordan Spieth, like you say, it's, you can't say I don't fancy him to win it, because he's the type of player that could show up and win it. But again, looking at the price, it just wouldn't be for me at that at that number. He's got a fantastic links form. I mean, looking at the last 10 years, he's the player who he's raised his game by well over half a stroke per round on links. He's up at 3 strokes gained, adjusted strokes gained per round on the field over 6 events in links. So he's top of the world in that ranking, but right now he's probably not the Jordan Spieth that's been playing those events. So again, for me, just on form wouldn't be a pick.
And Frankie?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's been very hit and miss this year. I mean, I think last year suited him, although the approach play historically has been good.
I think he's been missing off the tee this year, hasn't he?
I think that's been
off the tee this year have been horrendous.
Yeah, I think that's an element of it. So he's 89th this year in approach play. I mean that wouldn't bode well for me. I think it's going to be somebody who's going to be really pinpoint, like someone in the top 10, I'd imagine, in approach play worldwide this year. So I think there's other guys in that range that I'd prefer ahead of him. Wouldn't be for me.
So we'll get on to them. Just anything from you, Niall, on the man that you tipped up last year and you said at the time was the best golfer in the world, Francesco Molinari, or Justin Rose, or Jordan Spieth? Yeah,
I firmly believe Molinari was the best player in the world at that time last year. Playing unbelievable stuff, but it's just not convincing this year at all. And really, what his game is built upon, they're the things that Molinari does well. So it's not a good sign that those are the stats that he's fallen down on this year. And the 20-1 there is absolutely ridiculous. Looking at that, I think he could well be worth taking on in a bunch of match bets. Justin Rose, I think the price isn't great there either. Obviously, you highlighted that putting was the main thing that got him into contention there in the US Open, and basically it looked to me as if the switch in manufacturers with his arms sacrificed the major there, because that's what his game is built upon, his approach play. So and for one who doesn't usually putt that well either, that would be your slight worry if you'd punted him. So he wouldn't be on my list either. And then Spieth at 20-1, I could understand that he could tempt many, and I think that price isn't too bad, to be fair. But with the mown off areas around the green and the shaved areas, and obviously I think there's going to be plenty of greensmiths. I think his imagination will be quite good, quite a positive at Portrush. So I don't see him out of the question, but he probably won't be on my bet slip.
You could be better off probably backing him when only on the exchange, I'd have thought, where it'd be a bigger price, because it could be a bit of a boom or bust for Jordan Spieth. I'm going to open it up now to you guys. I'll rattle off some names and that kind of clutch of players, and you can let me know who takes your fancy. We've got Tommy Fleetwood 28-1, Ricky Fowler 28-1, Xander Schauffele 28-1, slightly different price to what we backed about last year. At Carnoustie, Patrick Cantlay 33-1. Adam Scott, former Open champion, 40-1. The same price as Hideki Matsuyama, Jason Day, and Justin Thomas as well. So coming to you first, Dylan, any of those making up some of your early fancies at this stage?
Yeah, there's a standout guy there for me. Adam Scott is probably going to be my top pick for the week. Like I said, I'm looking heavily at the quality of the player, and so far this year, worldwide in all events, Adam Scott has been the 4th best player in the world.
Yeah.
So that alone would be promising for me. And then looking at Link's form over the last 10 years, he's been second to Jordan Spieth.
Yeah.
Those are 2 huge factors for me. I think, in the absence of anything detailed that we can take about the course or specifically kind of analytically anyway, I think those 2 factors are enough for me. I would think he should definitely be in that range there with Rose, Molinari, Spieth. I think he should be kind of 20s, something like that, 22s. Getting him up there at I think he's 40s top price.
40, yeah.
It just seems like a massive price for me. I'm just waiting for some way to get on 10 places, I think. And once that comes out,
Scotty will be delighted. I've just given him that 2012 Open Championship, which of course he crumbled and gifted to Ernie Els there. My memory playing tricks on me, but any thoughts on Scotty?
Yeah, well, this is probably good news for all the Tiger punters, because I totally agree. Like he's probably my top man as well. One of the big things in the Open down the years has been experience as well. You looked at the last number of winners. Obviously, you had Molinari, Stenson, Zach Johnson, Mickelson, Ernie, Clark, Stuart Sink. All these guys have a wealth of experience and have played well on links before. No one fits the bill more than Adam Scott. I think he's just entered his 40s probably now, has he?
Yeah,
say so.
Looks like he's about 25.
But there's always clues.
38
as well.
still, 38.
38. Like Woodland winning the US Open. I think there's always clue. I always look to the previous major results, like maybe the last 2 years worth. Unfortunately, Woodland slipped through the net, but he was 8th in the PGA before going on to win the US Open. And, those guys who win the majors nowadays have usually figure in the previous couple or at least once. So there's a bunch of players that I've got listed like that, but Adam Scott's one that fits the bill the most. He was 18th in the Masters, 7th in the US Open, and 8th in the PGA. So everything's heading towards, and he loves links, and that was one of he's been unlucky not to win one so far, and he ticks all my boxes. I think the 40-1 will be solid, as you say. Just hope for another couple of 40-1s at decent place terms.
Yeah, normally maybe we should delay releasing this until the place times improved a bit. But yeah, currently 40-1. A couple of interesting propositions as well. Patrick Cantlay at 33-1. Who have of course been very, very solid this season, but not much links for him to talk about. But that's why you're getting a bigger price and could look big over the weekend. And Justin Thomas, I know there have to be question marks about fitness, form, and links form. But at 40-1, when we talk about Jordan Spieth looking a big price for the quality of player, seeing JT there at 40-1 is certainly going to raise a few eyebrows.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big JT fan anywhere and everywhere if I can get him. I think I mentioned last time that I had a concern over his wrist or wrist or his elbow, like whatever injury it was he had. Look, he's a top quality player. Again, referencing this year's form, he's 10th in the world this year. But I'm not sure about his fitness. Now, having said that, 40-1 is probably, I think I said he was 28th or something for the US Open, and I kind of said, I don't really fancy that price with the unknown over his fitness. I think 40s is probably a big enough price to have factored in that risk. I suppose to reverse a little bit, if we look at Tiger, there's a big risk with Tiger these days that he shows up, he's not 100% fit, he's not comfortable. We've kind of seen that in, I think the PGA in particular, he obviously wasn't comfortable. The conditions and his back were not perfect for him. So that has to be factored into the price. I don't think it is with Tiger. I think the 40s on JT, that is factored in. So I think it's a fair price. Might have a little bit on him, but you know, I wouldn't put the house on him to win it, because obviously it's a bit of an unknown. But 40s is a very nice price there on him.
Now, Niall, you said a second ago that you like looking at recent major form. You want someone who's got a bit of experience behind them, who's got a bit of links form. Looking now at Henrik Stenson at 45-1, who of course has won the Open Championship before, having been touched off by Phil Mickelson, he then returned the favour himself. And then we saw him playing some very, very good golf indeed at the US Open, where he ended up finishing tied 9th. A bit of a return to form there. And then also the same price, Louis Oosthuizen, who who also got a top 10 in the US Open, who's won the Open Championship before as well. Are these the kind of profile of players that you're looking at here?
Profile, maybe, yes, but maybe not the personnel you mentioned. You mentioned Patrick Cantlay there a minute ago. He was 3rd at the PGA, 9th at the Masters, just got that recent major for him, and finished 12th in the Open last year. That was his first Open appearance. It's not too bad at all. And I would hazard a guess in your rankings he's towards the top, third for this year. Like, so, yeah, Cantlay ticks a lot of boxes for me. I think his price is okay as well. I don't know whether I'll get involved at this stage or not. I've still to make up my mind, but he's one of those ones around 33-1 that I quite like to do of. You talk about Stenson and Oosthuizen. Stenson, maybe, yes, obviously 9th at the US Open was a pretty impressive performance, but he doesn't contend a lot at the business end of any tournament these days, an awful lot. So I'd worry about that, just because he's slightly, you know, just a recent inexperience of contending any championship on a Sunday, and the likes of Oosthuizen, and I think there's a bunch of players in there. Oosthuizen, you've Matsuyama, Garcia. There's a bunch of those golfers between 50 and 100-1, and I look watching that golf on Sunday, Morikawa and Wolf, and I'd say those guys are already better than them.
Yeah.
I think Oosthuizen and Matsuyama are going off the likes of 40-1 and 50-1 in these championships is absolute robbery. I don't think if someone had a gun to my head now, I would say Matsuyama will never win a major. Oosthuizen will never win another one.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of guys there that I just really don't like anymore, and I think
It's priced up on name and reputation rather than, or is
somewhat, yes, but just the way that some of those guys have performed on the PGA Tour this year, the new guys, especially, and those two in particular last week, I'm just thinking these type of guys that we're talking about could easily be overpassed very, very quickly. And for me, in a major championship, backing them around those prices, I just think it's ill advised nowadays.
Well, let's talk about a couple of
Snedeker's another one that a lot less.
Let's talk about a couple of the new guard, but the ones from the UK, because we've got Matt Wallace there at 50-1, pretty much general price. You've got, I mean, he's been around for a while, but he's still a young guy, and Matt Fitzpatrick at 80-1, and Eddie Pepperell at 80-1 as well. Had a really good weekend in the Irish Open. Went close-ish.
Not good enough.
Not good enough. Niall, you tipped him up as your headline pick. Also ended up having a very decent Open at Carnoustie, where he went really low on Sunday, and for a split second looked like he could sneak in the back door. Do these guys look a bit overpriced? I mean, I'm looking at Pepperell mainly, given his links form.
Well, funny enough, I mean, we do a lot of work with those three guys, particularly Matt Fitz and Matt Wallace.
So you've got to be careful what you say.
Well, yeah, it's funny sometimes, because I feel like I can be a little bit skewed.
Yeah.
I can obviously be biased a little bit towards them, but like personally, I haven't seen firsthand what Wallace and Fitzpatrick are doing, you know, work-wise and behind the scenes. I think something good is going to happen for one of them, or both of them, pretty soon. It really wouldn't surprise me if, like, Dave McNeely, Matt Wallace's caddy, is from Belfast as well, so there'll be the local connection there. Wouldn't surprise me if one of them won a major. It really wouldn't shock me at all. They're both playing excellently. They'll be well prepared. You know, they'll have themselves set up well for it.
It's up to you, isn't it?
Exactly. that's what I mean. Yeah. But yeah, look, I mean, they're both fantastic players. They're doing serious work behind the scenes. I'm finding it hard not to be too biased. I'd love it if they did win, but and as I said, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
If Eddie's listening to this, do you think he's thinking, why is he taking me out of this conversation? It's, you know,
No, he'll be right there. I mean, he's in fantastic form.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously he's only come back, but I mean, his record in kind of similar situations is brilliant. And obviously, having won the British Masters, that was kind of, I suppose you call it Heathland kind of course,
Yeah.
but it's a step towards links. He had a pretty good week last week again. Again, wouldn't surprise me at all. And he's one guy who I feel like if he was under pressure coming down the stretch, I don't think it would stress him out too much.
Yeah, I was just about to say that as
Yeah.
well. It appears to be someone just got a save. You know, I would say that he would disagree with you and say that, you know, that there's all sorts going on
Probably,
in that head, but down the back then it looks like he just doesn't really care, and that's what you want. Like.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, was it last year he had the 63 or something in the final
on
round?
Sunday. And
Yeah,
ended up
after
tied
having
sixth.
drank a bottle of wine.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean, like, it's just brilliant. He's a great character. Again, wouldn't surprise me at all. But
He just seems to be someone who, of all the golfers in the world right now, when he gets hot and when he gets on a run, he's pretty much unstoppable. He can go through a field so quickly.
yeah, he's a remarkable approach player.
Yeah.
That would be a big plus for me there. His approach play, I think, was it last year, was maybe third, or he was top 5 in the world. He's an excellent approach player. So if his driver and his putter kind of come into line, his irons will definitely do the business for him. So yeah, definitely all positives for him.
I quite like the three guys you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
This guy's, I think Fitzpatrick is maybe a bit short in the market, if anything. You know,
A bit short of the tee as well. Is that why? When you said he wants
maybe. I don't know what way that'll play out. To be fair, you know, I'm sure they'll get a fair enough amount of run out of the fairways when it comes to playing days. But it almost strikes me as if Matt Wallace would have I've always kind of seen him winning a major in the States, to be honest. I think that's, you know, not, you know, out of his reach, and obviously he won the US Amateur as well, so I think he would almost be better suited by a US Open, but I've big expectations of Matt Wallace, and obviously he's got big expectations of himself, I think, by what you can see and, you know, how he reacts and what he says. And I think a major win from him might only be around the corner, and it could come at Portrush. He strikes me as one, you know, when Matt Wolff won at the weekend, you know, he came off the green saying, you know, I knew this was going to happen. You know, Matt Wallace is kind of in a similar mode where, you know, he's got so high expectations of himself that it'll only go with, you know, if you marry that with, you know, really, really hard work, then, you know, big things can happen. And a lot of people question his temperament and how he acts on the course and all as well, but, you know, for me, he's one of those ones, you know, it's just because of his expectations that he's getting annoyed. He's not like really petulant, like, you know, Tyrrell Hatton.
I was about to say, I think I know who you're talking about.
But, you know, I think Wallace just has so high expectations that he just gets naturally annoyed, as opposed to Tyrrell Hatton getting, you know, really pent up, you know, and deliberately. But and as I say, there he's got the previous major for him this year, is 12th in the US Open and 3rd in the PGA. So, you know, if ever, and I'm also looking to a bunch of golfers. You know, it was interesting actually to hear Paul McGinley say that he was in contact with the RNA about the setup of Lahinch to try and make it, you know, a similar test, so to speak, to what Portrush is going to be. And I think the same type of golfers would have every chance when they go to Portrush. Obviously, Pepper was one of them playing very well, but these kind of guys who would normally not feature on your radar for a major championship, I think have every it'll probably be as close to an Irish Open as you could get, you know. So I think especially a bunch of European golfers in the mould of Pepperell, you know, Wallace, Fitzpatrick, you know, there's plenty of those guys, and even guys 200 to 1 above could go really well from the European Tour, you know.
So that's those ones covered. We're coming towards the end of this now, so I'm just going to let you guys, if there's anyone we haven't spoken about who you want to flag up, I'm sure there've got to be a couple. Dylan, coming to you first.
Yeah, I mean, there's one guy who I was scrolling, and I thought I must have missed him, and then I found him, Russell Knox. He's down there at like 150 to 1, which just seems absurd to me. His performances this year have been, he's picked it up, I think he's 70th in the world in world rankings, but his performance this year has been 35th or something like that. You know, he's performing at that level comfortably. He's not the best putter in the world. He's just below average. But if he gets his putter going at all, he'll be there or thereabouts. I mean, he's obviously got the win last year and putted he won that with his putter. I think he gained like 9 strokes or something that week with his putter in Ballyliffin, and then hold those 2 massive putts on the 18th. So
he's got the WGC in the bag as well.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean he's far too good of a player to be down at that price.
Yeah,
so,
I totally agree.
So I suspect that won't last. That'll be long gone by next Monday morning. But yeah, he'd be the main pick for me down a little bit further. Yeah, there was nobody else really stood out down at that end.
That's good, because for the last one we spoke about 60 players that we tipped up for the US Open. So it's good.
I don't think we mentioned Woodland, did we?
No, we didn't know.
Funnily enough, I actually did want to mention him. Now I think, you know, as I said, the clue was for the US Open was in the PGA, finishing 8th there. But you know, the guys who won the last major are normally somewhat discounted in the next one, unless you're a Brooks Koepka or whatever, simply because of the pressure and the media attention and, you know, everything you have to deal with after being a major champion, especially a first-time major champion. But I think the attention will go elsewhere this week, obviously, or next week, with McIlroy, obviously the Open coming back to Portrush after 60 plus years. You know, you've got the story with Tiger as well. There's plenty of stories there. Graham McDowell coming back. There's loads of stories to take the attention. I think Woodland will probably fly under the radar. And I think I looked on the machine the other night. He was sitting at about 90. It looks far too big.
Big. I mean, he's 55.
He was really, really impressive in that US Open, especially off the tee. You know, long and straight. Like it goes so long in contending in these major championships these days, and just, you know, where people would kind of normally just write him off, he's just won his major, like he could slip under the radar and play quite well, I think.
He's got great control over his trajectory as well, like, you know, if the wind does get up, I've heard, I mean, who knows, but...
Sets them shots probably get about 5 feet off the ground as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the wind is going to get up, but that's a long-term forecast or whatever, so we're not really sure, but if it does, then, you know, obviously wouldn't be surprised if it does, then being able to hit that bullet, that stinger, you know, the way Tiger used to, and presumably still does, you know, that will be a big advantage to get it running out on those fairways. So yeah, I agree with that one. Yeah.
Yes, there's a bit of money queuing at 120 to 1 on the exchange, so you may want to wait a bit to see that 55 to 1 on the fixed drift out if you want to have an each way bet there, because surely it will with that exchange price. Anyone else? Do you want to flag up now?
Yeah, there's a couple of two other Americans quite like. Matt Kuchar for one, obviously has the experience that we want, has the major form this year, 8th in the PGA, 12th in the Masters. Would have had an Open Championship in the bag only for the heroics of Jordan Spieth. Playing out of his skin this year, you know, you look down at his results, there's barely a bad one amongst them, so obviously created a lot of controversy in the last 12 months too. But
he seems to thrive in it, weirdly, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's water off a duck's back anyway, it appears to be, so I think Portrush you might just see something, you know, not saying that it would be so special that Kuchar won, but you know, obviously he's been about a long time now, and you know, maybe getting a bit long in the tooth to win a major championship, but this may be one of his best chances. Playing out of his skin all year, so it ticks a lot of my boxes. It's sitting at a decent price. But another one at 3 figures that I really like is Chez Reavie, 3rd in the US Open, obviously, and 14th in the PGA before that, playing the golf of his life. Has that tee to green game and not the length off the tee that you would be looking for traditionally at an Open Championship. I think he ranks something like 23rd or 24th in the world now, which I think people would be really surprised to hear. So we're getting 150 to 1 about someone.
200 to 1 now, best
200 to 1.
Yeah.
You know, sitting, you know, inside the top 25 in the world, playing the golf of his career. I think he's an each way bet to nothing there.
Yeah, so Chez Reavie 200 to 1. Any other ones you're going to say you fancy before I ask you who you want to get against?
I think if, just a random one, I haven't seen it yet, but if you can get winning nationality Australian, I quite like that. You know, you're getting Scott, Day, Leishman, they'd be the 3 main ones for me. I quite fancy all those to potentially go well. I mean, Leishman's got good form, good major form, not so much recently, but he's had good runs in majors. He's got good links form as well, so wouldn't surprise me if he was up there. So I think winning nationality Australian, if you got a decent price, and that could be a nice one.
Nice. Let's hope there's a decent price for that. There should be. We can just touch the 3 of them at the prices, of course, as well. Although you might be getting a be kicking yourself if a 3-figure Australian winner comes in and wins it and you don't get your payout. Just going back to the top of the market before we wrap up, your Koepkas, your McIlroys, your DJs, Rahm, Woods, Rose, who would you, out of that lot, could you not see ending up? We'll take it all the way down to Molinari. Who would you be getting against? You can't see them. Maybe even a bet to miss the cut.
Tiger maybe for me. Simply because so much of us, he's got so dependent on his routine, and there was a video going up there the other day there that he's getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning or something even now to prepare himself for the time change whenever he comes to Portrush. Just seems silly to me. And obviously you say in the PGA he wasn't suited at all. Obviously it was very cold there at the PGA, especially at the start of the week. It'll be cold in Portrush as well, no doubt. Long-term forecast doesn't look that great, even though we haven't had too bad of weather back home for the last while. But I think Tiger might struggle just in the conditions. Yeah,
Tiger would have been the one for me as well. It's just because, like I kind of mentioned earlier, in the price you have to factor in that there's, it's hard to put a number on it, but there's definitely a reasonable percentage chance that he shows up and he's not playing, as the Tiger that we know. No, look, his performances this year have generally been good, but you just don't know what you're going to get with him, so he probably would be a lay at that price. Other than that, I think I'd probably go against Rose as well. Although I think who did I lay? I laid Koepka in the Masters, so that went well. And then I can't remember who I said last time, but he was contended as well. So
So basically back Tiger.
Or Rose, yeah. Back to two of those, yeah. No, I think those will be the two for me, just based on the...
And have an acca on Australians to miss the cut.
Yeah.
Well, I think Dylan's doing himself a bit of a disservice there. But yeah, thanks both of you for joining me today for Oddschecker's Open Championship preview. Follow Dylan and the 15th Club on Twitter and on social media. You can get some really good insight there into what the guys are doing and some of the findings about the course and the players in running, and there's basically a wealth of knowledge from those guys. Really, really interesting. And of course, keep your eyes peeled for Niall's tips. His tips are already live for this weekend in Scotland. His Open tips will be live probably early next week. And make sure you check the Oddschecker site as well for all your best odds across the markets and your best place terms all the way up till next Thursday's start. And enjoy the golf.